Guillem, great to see you as ever, and no doubt a man in demand at the moment because you know Enzo Maresca better than most. I know you had an evening with him when he was still the Leicester City manager. So let's dive straight in. What's the appeal, in your view, of Chelsea to Maresca?
It's an interesting one because I didn't see it coming, and I'm not sure he did until it all appeared. But football has got those turns and twists in which perhaps you're not planning it; it's not part of your path, but then all of a sudden you cannot say no to. Quite clearly, first of all, the context of the situation. I think he would have stayed at Leicester City if the conditions were a little bit different. His dream has always been to have a club that can compete for things, but not the best club in the world. A place where he can impose his way of thinking about the game. I don't think he's going to have a very long career on purpose. I see him, at the top 10 years maximum, maybe. So the question he wants to answer is, how far can I push a team that is mine, that feels like mine, that I can influence anyway? Because now that as a manager, you don't have 100% of the say on a club, but one that can live comfortably in the Premier League and surprise many. And Leicester City could have been that one, but of course, I think he felt let down by learning about the financial situation of the club when he had already signed for the club. And then, he would have accepted if there was a £15 points or 10 points or 6 points deduction at the beginning of the season. And as I say, if Leicester City had also agreed to have to put the conditions for a team that will not be a yo-yo club, but one that could stay in the Premier League with stronger infrastructure within the club and the offices, etc. I don't think those things were determined yet. And as I said, there must have been some question marks in his head when offers from at least two European Cup winning sides, Chelsea being one of them, appeared, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, this is what people think of me. They're willing to give me, these clubs to run. And in the case of Chelsea, he did a very, very good interview. So once the possibility of Chelsea appears, he makes sure that he had enough information, not just about the first team, having watched enough games, but also about the reserves, players that are coming through, the limits of the club itself financially, so how to go around it. It's obviously not his job, but he will have a say in terms of what profile of players, style, etc., etc., etc. And I know that in that job interview, people went into it thinking, Enzo Maresca, not sure, but came out thinking he has to be him. So that's the power conviction that he has. There's a long way around to say that he has that leadership qualities. So he will convince the players that already have got enough layers, most of them, on the football that he wants to put in practice, not that far from what Pochettino has been trying to do, and will push them more towards the Enzo Maresca way, if you like. So he can convince them. He now knows, with a full year at Leicester City at the elite, that he's got the tools to do so in terms of coaching staff, in terms of exercises, in terms of shaping the team molded to his idea, and then he's got something else, the energy to believe that no matter what has been said about Chelsea, no matter how it's been run, that he can transform it into something even more competitive and better.
Talk to me a bit about his history and his coaching journey in particular, because Chelsea fans have glibly named him Diet Pep. And we know about his time at Manchester City, but he worked under Pellegrini. He read and still does a lot of Johan Cruyff in his spare time. So he shouldn't just be billed, should he, as simply a Pep clone?
Not at all. The fact is, though, that his thinking as a coach, as a football man, completely got transformed in a Sevilla game when he played for Sevilla against Football Club Barcelona, the Barcelona of Pep Guardiola. He couldn't take the ball of Barcelona. When Sevilla recovered the ball, he didn't have enough time to think, to do something with it. And he thought, what's going on here? This is so different to everything else I lived. There was a touch of humiliation and embarrassment about him, who was a solid professional, unable to do the things that he'd done against any other side in in his career as a footballer. Something that Pep Guardiola was doing that impressed him, and then he started studying that, and the influence of Johan Cruyff. He wanted to know more about. He, as you said, were with Pellegrini. He also, at some point, felt having done really well with the under-23s of Manchester City, something that he was very proud of because they won the league and they played really well. Some of those players are around, and some of them now are being signed by Chelsea. So with all that, he thought, okay, I can go into management as a number one. But, and this was a lesson, pick the wrong club. Parma, historic team in Serie B, but there was no synergy with the board, with the decision makers. Something he will learn in future interviews. And he was sacked, Parma, after 14 games, but the last 5 were 2 wins, 2 draws, 1 defeat. So it didn't really have to do with the results. It had to do with the fact that it just wasn't working. People didn't understand, fans, media, the board, what he was trying to do. Fair enough. He moves on, goes back, and when Pep Guardiola calls him, he tells him, I know you're a number one, but for a while, be with me, because I know what you've done, and I think we can work together, and you can do stuff for me, blah, blah, blah. And obviously Enzo was like, some people will call it a step back or step aside. He felt that he was going to learn from it. And this is, again, a lesson to those former players that think that the best way to get to the top is through shortcuts. He thought, no, I want to learn and take a lot of stuff from somebody that he admires in Pep Guardiola. So he did that. And after that, I remember talking to him at the end of his last season at Manchester City, just before they won absolutely everything. And he was like, I think I'm ready again. I think I could go. And I'm getting offers, I'm getting big offers, Premier League offers. But then eventually ended up picking up Leicester City because of the potential of it, because it was a risky move. But at the same time, there was, of course, the foundations of a Premier League club in the wrong place. Could he transform the style, which is what he was asked to do? Could he make them competitive? And those were answers very quickly. And even though there was a little bit of a blip, still managed to get 7 points away from third and winning the championship. Everybody insists it's the toughest competition around. He won it. And as I said at the beginning, it was a time to take decisions. Offers came, and eventually there was that magic encounter in a room with some of the directors of Chelsea, and everybody felt that they have a path now towards with a 5-year contract plus 1, a long-term plan towards a more competitive Chelsea.
We'll come to Chelsea and your thoughts on how his system will fit the squad in a moment. But what's Maresca like more as a personality as opposed to a manager?
I can give you so many examples for somebody that is empathetic, that listens, and you know very well that people at that status don't really listen. They're constantly on the stage. They want you to listen. Enzo's different, and he is surrounded by people that are as good as him, or that that are 10 out of 10 in the role that they got. So he wants to be surrounded by people that teach him stuff, not by people that say yes all the time. That is another thing that you'd say. And then when he walks through the door in the house, just becomes dad. And I've seen that in many occasions where the 4 kids take him back to earth, because one is a football player, or wants to be a football player, little kid still, but the other 3, they just don't want to know about football. And that helps. I think his wife is exactly the same. So you've got that healthy home environment, but one that he didn't want to affect. He told me a story of how when he goes to Leicester, the interview with the owner took place on the day of the birthday of his son. And he felt really bad about going to the interview. Obviously, had to be then, and did it. But on his office, in the blackboard that he's got behind him, he wrote, I went to an interview, or to the job interview, on my son's birthday. Better be worth it. And he had that in the rest of the season in his head, just like making sure that he went the extra mile to guarantee that the whole thing was worth it. And he has been worth it. So the next step, where to go next, or staying, is something that the family has had a big relevance to it. And they prefer to stay in England than to move abroad, and there were offers from abroad. So yeah, these are indications of what it's like. When I asked him I'm doing this event for People United, the club I'm the chairman of. Could I ask you a favor? Nope, you cannot ask me a favor. You can ask me two. You can ask me two. So I said, no, one will do. You have to appear this evening, be with us, not a problem. You have to talk, go table by table, be a short amount of people, not a problem. And it was very, very helpful that we raised money for a grassroots club in the 9th division. So, yeah, I think those are glimpses of the kind of person he is.
There's that personal touch. There's that jovial demeanour that we saw during his West Brom days when he was the sidekick to Lee Hughes between 1998 and 2000. But as a manager at Leicester, he wasn't afraid to be forthright either. I remember one instance, and I'm speaking now to you as a Leicester fan, against Birmingham City, where the goalkeeper, Mads Hermansen, played the ball out but took too long from the back. And Jay Stansfield blocked it and scored an equaliser at the time. And Maresca admitted afterwards that he said to his goalkeeper, if you don't persist with playing it short, if you doubt yourself and hoof it long, then I'll substitute you. So Chelsea are going to inherit a manager that will be quite rigid, I presume, and stick to his principles.
And because he's got those principles and everybody knows it, if you want him and you get him, you know what you're going to get. He will insist on a way of playing that he loves, and he put it in practice to 60%, I would say, of the capacity of Leicester City and the squad that he had. But that's a lot. When for a lot of players, they say right now that they learn new things, and for a mature 1, 2, and 3 mature professionals to actually be able to say that and admit it publicly means that yes, that he's not scared of doing exactly that, of teaching them a new way. And he will pursue that idea, those ideals, and try to get the best that he can from every single player in that way. And of course, you would know, because you heard that Leicester City, some Leicester City fans would be like, they were a bit disappointed that there was a plan B, whatever that is. When people say plan B, they mean long ball. No, he doesn't have plan B, but he's got plan A1, plan A2, plan A3, plan A4. So he had 20 different ways to build it from the back. Once that happens, 20 different ways to attack. So it was a team with a lot of layers in a style that not everybody understood in the stands. But in any case, one that he will insist on. And, that reminds me of a moment where Pep Guardiola, who's gone through a little bit of the same at Manchester City, heard some of the Manchester City fans unhappy about one slow building from the back or whatever. And he turned right around and said to them, shut up. And out of which, by the way, they scored as well. So it is that cultural battle that he had to deal with at Leicester City, which I don't think that will happen at Chelsea, because, as I say, there's been already, it's not a transition, but certainly Chelsea have acquired a lot of things that Maresca will take advantage of under Pochettino. And it will be taken even further into the Maresca way in the next few months.
At Chelsea, under Maurizio Sarri, Guillem, it was also very heavily focused on possession. And he did go on to win the Europa League, but Chelsea fans didn't buy into the style. And they're one of the harder fan bases to please. Do you think Maresca will have concerns, not so much with backing himself and his ability, but just getting buy-in and quickly from the fan base as to how he plays?
I told him when he arrived to Leicester that he had to educate on that style, especially in Leicester. Maybe he'll have to do the same at Chelsea, but it's a brand of football that has been successful, number one. Number two, they've seen enough times, I imagine, every time they play Arsenal, every time they play Manchester City, they would have seen, obviously, how it works. And if you want to place him in between Pep Guardiola and Mikel Arteta, I think possibly Enzo is more towards the Pep Guardiola style. And that means, in terms of what the Chelsea fans have to have in their mind, it means that, when you are building from the back and the rival pressure's high, you have to, of course, do it quickly, but not as quickly as you do when you beat them and then you've got the last third with a lot of space. if the team that you play against is very deep, and that will happen a lot as it happened to Leicester City, when they're very deep, you have the ball, you go for dinner, you have some champagne, you talk to your friends, you take your time to attack until it's the right time. And that's the thing they're going to have to learn, because people will call it slow, but it has to be at some point to attract, to get the rival to make mistakes, to come out of the cave. A lot of things that have to be done for the style of Maresca to succeed. But when it does, it's beautiful to see. And of course, I think Chelsea will win more than lose, and it will be down to that style as well. So I hope that people embrace it.
Who do you think will be the main winners and losers within the squad? We know the goalkeeper's important. He inverts full-backs. There'll be a lot of talk about Enzo Fernandez, Moises Caicedo, how to get the best out of both of them together. At Leicester anyway, but I think throughout his career, Maresca favours wingers to wide forwards. So who do you think will benefit, and who do you think will have to adapt within that Chelsea squad?
We'll have to see, because what we could guess is some of the players that perhaps don't fully fit. But at the same time, would you have thought that Ricardo Pereira could play in the centre midfield? He's never done it before, so he may just get some of those players that perhaps don't fit at first to adapt. We know the limits of Chelsea in terms of what they can do with the squad, and selling could be a possibility. So again, let's see who goes, and that won't fully be down to Enzo Maresca, as we know. I think more important than that, what happens with the players, because I'm sure they will improve as they have done at Leicester City, and I'm sure they eventually will play in the Enzo Maresca way. Let's see who it is that does that. What is important, I think, it's where it all starts in the decision making. If Balague, for instance, would still be as influential as he has been under Pochettino, if the directors of football will regain some authority and have a big space in which they can do the job, or if owners, as they have been doing, limit that and then just make it all confusing. How far the role of being a head coach goes. A lot of things that are still new to Chelsea. They spend a lot of money, we know that, but in terms of how it all works, I don't think it has been done in a smooth way yet. So perhaps with a lot of conversations, with people listening, with people being empathic about each other and understanding of each other, perhaps Chelsea will start to find that kind of structure that works. I'm saying that because once the squad gets firmed up, they've got quality players, and they will, as I said, they will win more than lose. And the foundation is clear. They come from sixth. They should push on to the Champions League, and I'm sure they'll do that. But before that, for everything to work, for harmony to be found, you don't have to look at it on the pitch, because look at the reaction of the Leicester City players when Enzo Maresca left, in shock, and they weren't happy. Obviously, he will win everybody on the pitch, but it's what happens above that will explain or will tell us if Chelsea are going to be successful or not.
Two final questions on this. Do you think Maresca will have interviewed Chelsea as much as they interviewed him? Because naturally, any head coach taking on that job, regardless of the model, the ambition, the money, backing themselves, will have still looked at Thomas Tuchel's departure, Graham Potter's departure, Mauricio Pochettino's departure, and statistically under Clearlake Bowley, you're going to last for a year or less. So how do you think Maresca would have approached the interview to make sure that in taking the job, he didn't just do so because Chelsea are a big club. He did so because he believes that he's going to be there for the duration of this longer-term contract.
Does he believe that? 5 years is a long time in Chelsea, as you know, but certainly what he may have done, I'm sure he's done it, prepare himself very well, over-prepared as he normally does. And then, as I explained earlier, just try to impress everyone. But I know what you're saying about you also have to believe that what they're telling you at Chelsea is true. But I do think that he has so much energy, so much belief in what he does, so much backing from the people around him, some of which are new to his circle, like Willy Caballero. But they all he's been leading the whole thing. And once he became clear that he was going to go to Chelsea, that's when he met everyone in Marbella, all the coaching staff, and explained what was going on. The coaching staff didn't know anything. So it was all him thinking, let's see if they convince me and I convince them. But it seems like the answer has been yes. Both sides have been convinced, but you know perfectly that a manager, the strongest day in the history of a manager is the day before he signs. And from then on, his authority gets eroded, and then he's got to win everybody over every single day. But at the same time, I think Chelsea should do the same, making sure that what they have promised, they deliver. I insist on this idea, especially on the fact that there is a way of working in which there are no interferences and everybody knows what they're doing. And everybody has got the intention of making Chelsea a top 4 side. Well, Enzo Maresca, as a player, certainly, and with Sevilla too, he knows how that works. He knows, he smells what's right. So take advantage of that, number one, even though if you don't make him the biggest decision maker. And secondly, make sure that everybody pleases everyone. Because, as I say, Enzo will be there for as long as his job is respected, for as long as things are going right. Because as you saw Pochettino doing as well, I think it gets to a point where people like Enzo Pochettino, if there's no harmony, if there's no happiness, what's the point of continuing?
Chelsea finished the season in 2024, and in fact, since Boxing Day, is the 4th best team statistically in the Premier League. So logically, fans and the owners and sporting directors will say, if momentum continues, the realistic aim should be Champions League football. What do you think will constitute a good first season in charge for Enzo Maresca?
Let's see what he's been told, and I'm sure that will come out in the press conference, because when he first joined Leicester City, in his first press conference, I went to see him, and he insisted on the idea that I'm just going to make the team the best it can be, and we'll aim as high as we can aim. That wasn't, not once he said, we're going to get promoted, we're going to win the championship. Not once, because that's what he was told. It takes 1-2 years, don't worry, but as long as you improve the side, this is what we want of you. Fine, if that's the target, that's the target. So let's see what the target has been at Chelsea, because obviously for Chelsea to challenge for a top 4, they put the foundations for it. You use a stat that everybody's very aware of within the club, that they have been top 4 this year, and that's the minimum now. That's the minimum. But for it to work, they have to make the right steps. And if we're saying that Chelsea have to sell one of their academy players, which one is that? Do they need to do that? What does the squad looks like? And as I say, what has the target been? I imagine to be more competitive. I don't think by contract you get put in there that you have to be top 4, but it's what is expected, isn't it? That at least Chelsea find themselves from the beginning to the end with options to get into the Champions League. I guess for this year that would be a really realistic target.
So that's Enzo Maresca at Chelsea, and Guillem knows him better than anyone else. So fascinating insight there. Just wrapping up and moving on, I want to talk about Biggleswade, because in the context of that, the boot is on the other foot, and you will have been part of conversations about recruiting a manager, assessing a manager. What's it like for you working on the other side and being less the journalist, less the person that knows the managers and the players, and more the man in the boardroom?
It has been a tough summer, because having given the opportunity to 2 former players who've been with us for 6 years, captains, both of them leaders of the group, having given them the chance to be head coaches, this summer we have to take different paths, and I had to tell them that, and it was a common agreement from both sides that it wasn't fully working. So it was tough. It was tough to say that. And then next, of course, you have to prepare. When you think that things are not going the right way, you have to prepare to have solutions straight away, if possible, with somebody that will have the same synergy, the same way of thinking as you have. And that goes via conversations. Eventually, when it gets confirmed that the head coaches will depart, and you do interviews, and you cannot go and look at tapes of you cannot look at videos of teams that have been managed by those people that you interview. So you go by a little bit what you feel at the moment in the conversation, what you hear, how much they know about the club, how much they know about my involvement in it, how much they want to get involved, how much talent have they got, what are their targets in life and football, and you go through all that. And eventually I think I chose just the perfect man for us at this point in time. Kane Doherty, who was in a team in the same division as we were, who've been promoted, and he's got the ambition to keep pushing with the club. So I don't think it's that different to professional football, but with the difference, of course, that here nobody gets paid, and he has to do a lot with passion and commitment, more than the obligation for them to do the job.
But I suppose your profile and connections are very helpful at that level. I saw, for example, with the women's team, there's a GoFundMe for Nicola Henman, and I encourage people to contribute to that. She unfortunately ruptured her ACL, and you're able to find an Arteta shirt to auction off to incentivize people. So the platform and connections that you bring at a club at that level are very useful to helping not only promote the club and progress the club, but make sure that when you can help and be socially conscious, you can obviously lend your followers and your connections to the wider club cause.
It's not surprising that people in professional football help. So I have more credit to them. Of course, I knock the doors and take my shirt, my Big United shirt everywhere, and I get everybody taking pictures with it, and etc. Last one, Michael Richards, which I'll put next to Maradona and Messi, and that obviously helps to raise the profile. But then when it is about helping a player like Nicola, who was at Spurs at some point, now he's at grassroots level. We are 2 divisions from national league, so she's well above our grade, and she's been very committed to our cause. And once she had a serious injury, we have to help. NHS doesn't help footballers. That is really sad. They put them bottom of the list. It's almost like saying, sorry, but you caused that to yourself by playing football, and there are others that require priority. And you know that the NHS in the UK at the moment are choosing who they're treating. So footballers suffer, and we have to do what we can with the platform that we've got, and we are the 3rd or 4th best followed grassroots club in the UK, to help them to raise money, to raise awareness. And we've raised about £550 with that share. There'll be other actions to be taken, not just for Nicola. Whoever in the club suffers that kind of situation, imagine they will lose money because they won't be able to work and stuff like that, and we'll always be there to help.
And along with all of that and your reporting, leading, for example, on things like Kylian Mbappe joining Real Madrid, there's another Guillem Balague, the writer, and we joked earlier that perhaps Maresca's a clone of Pep. I swear one day I'm going to break an exclusive, Guillem, where you've got a twin brother or a clone in a bunker writing all of your books. How are the promotional stuff going for the Messi one? And you've also got a book on Cristiano Ronaldo, and I believe that there'll be some signed copies available to coincide with the start of the Euros.
Yeah, the both Messi and Ronaldo books have been updated to the latest, and it's come out for the first time in Germany, the Cristiano Ronaldo one. So the publisher there, Adele, has decided to do some book signing, which I'll happily do. And as you know, once you get the book out, you have to, they're like little babies, you have to look after them, make them walk, and then once they walk on their own, that's then there's not much more you can do. So I'm doing the same with the captains. I did a book on captains of Football Club Barcelona, men and female, and that was a fascinating one, all in Spanish. And as soon as the summer is over, I start working on another one. So that will be a year following a football club in the Premier League. And while I'm just looking after Big United and work with CBS and BBC and La Liga TV. And somehow I managed to do it so far, but it's they haven't discovered the other 10 clones of me that are helping me, because otherwise I don't really know how I'm doing it.
And just finally, we mustn't forget where you are now, which is at the Sunset Sports Media Festival. Tell me more.
Yeah, this is the brainchild of Pete Radovich, who's our boss, the creative force of CBS Sports and all the stuff that's happening Champions League related. He's from Sadar. This is in Sadar. It's the 3rd year that this has happened, and basically they put together creative Croatian talent, but also international. And we just get together to tell our stories or to moderate panels that tell all the stories and debates. It's an opportunity to network, an opportunity to have a great time. We're by the beach. This is a fantastic 5-star resort. So, you don't say no to it, even though, as as yourself do, you just don't sit in the panel and chat. I've seen the work you put behind it when you do it for Soccerex or others, and this is the same. I'll be working by the beach, but I'll be working.
Well, enjoy it, Guillem. You certainly deserve it. Keep up the fantastic work that you do on all fronts. Thanks for your insight into Enzo Maresca. Enjoy the Euros, and we'll speak soon.
Thank you very much.